Wrestling is not supposed to hurt the wrestlers, let alone the fans. A lot of them don't just look brutal, they simply are. And those that aren't are agonizing for entirely different reasons. So I am Gareth, this is What Culture Wrestling, and here are those WWE matches that were painful to watch. Number 10, JBL vs Eddie Guerrero, Judgment Day 2004. So the festival of violence that was JBL vs Eddie Guerrero probably wouldn't make this or any list if the late great Latino Heat hadn't bled a total gusher in the main event of Judgment Day 2004. Bradshaw absolutely waffled Guerrero, but such violent headshots happened regularly enough then that the standard wrestler justification called for the one triggering this gusher to be a doozy. And oh boy it was. It's all very of the era, simultaneously serving as a reminder of why said era eventually had to change. This was horrific. Number 9, Volta vs Ilia Dragonov, NXT UK, October 29th, 2020. The goalposts have been moved when it comes to imagining how Gunter would get on in WWE. And while he has benefited from some excellent timing with certain power changes within the organization, the rest of his success has come from being as undeniably great as he ever was. Gunter on NXT 2.0 survived the wacky shift from the black and gold era and a name change because he subverted the style of the brand and forced others to bend to his will. And what he did there was have one of the most violent looking matches in company history. Making the most of the silence surrounding them, both he and Ilya Dragunov found every single sweet spot on the human body and hit each one as hard as they possibly could. The NXT UK title, and indeed the brand it represented, had never meant more. And never would again, sadly. Number 8, Brock Lesnar vs John Cena, Extreme Rules 2012. WWE had switched to PG 4 years earlier, and Cena was a talismanic figure in the move to clean up the product. It informed a sizable part of the hate side of the love-hate divide that defined his peak years. So when Brock Lesnar carved out a sizable part of Big Match John's head with the point of his elbow and a few thousand fists, the catharsis was real. Brock Lesnar was a legitimate dream opponent for the champ, and the stark contrast between the way the two men told their stories was the shock WWE's broken system desperately needed. And while we're talking about big old Brock, I want to know what the best Brock Lesnar match of all time is. Was it this extreme fight with John Cena or something else? You let me know in the comment section down below, baby. Number 7, Triple H vs Shawn Michaels, Bad Blood 2004. Shawn Michaels and Triple H were never going to top SummerSlam 2002. A parade of overfamiliar and boring bloodbaths followed. This was best exemplified at Bad Blood 2004. There they worked a supposed blood, sweat and tears Hell in a Cell main event to near silence, adding 47 minutes to the ring time they'd already racked up working multiple other pay-per-view matches against each other that year. And its main event billing was a reminder that the reign of terror was still very much ongoing, even if Triple H had temporarily lost the title. Number 6, Brock Lesnar vs Roman Reigns, WrestleMania 34. There are 100 different synonyms for worst ever that could be applied to 2017 to 2019 WWE, but no one match captures the mood more than Brock Lesnar vs Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 34. Yikes. A crowd thinking it's going one way and hating it, WWE trying so hard not to be owned that they book it the other way, and two wrestlers with not a single solitary chance of salvaging it thanks to agenting that had long outlived its relevance. And all as part of ostensibly the biggest match of the entire year. The farce concluded with Lesnar scooping Reigns' brains out with the point of his elbow. This looked less painful than how being forced to sit through the rest of the match was though. So just a quick thank you for stopping on by, and tap that subscribe button down below if you want some more What Culture madness. I know you wanna. Number 5, Finn Balor vs Kylo O'Reilly, NXT TakeOver 31. Kylo O'Reilly wasn't yet in the midst of a singles run when he challenged Finn Balor for the NXT Championship in late 2020, and it would in fact be his own title aspirations coming before the goals of Adam Cole that helped drive the wedge between the stablemates the following year. Based on how this and that turned out, perhaps sticking to the doubles division with Bobby Fish and Roderick Strong would have been a safer bet. A divisive match in the moment for its stiffness and after effects, it's ultimately a fairly forgotten one in the years that have passed. This doesn't exactly vindicate those that were put off by the real injuries suffered. Full force to the face was the order of the day, and the pair got all of it. O'Reilly was taken away after the show to try and fix a number of broken teeth and get checked for liver damage. And Balor's fate was worse somehow. He had to undergo surgery for a broken jaw. Number 4, Adam Cole vs Kyle O'Reilly, NXT TakeOver Stand and Deliver. Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly going really long in an ostensibly brutal stipulation match might have once been a dream destination for NXT fans, but by the spring of 2021, A Takeover was the wrong place and the wrong time for the former Undisputed Era men to try and settle their beef. NXT in its old form had been made redundant by the launch of AEW in 2019, and when the latter did a frankly unbelievable job of coping with the pandemic in 2020, the final nail had been hammered into the developmental brand's coffin. Dripping in fake-feeling intensity from the opening bell to last, the whole presentation just fell off. Lots of loud acting in between the grisly weapon shots undermined the very real damage they were doing. O'Reilly put Cole down for the count in the unsanctioned bout here, but the violent stunt spots and Cool Kyle especially going to that place forced commentator Wade Barrett to ponder aloud if either man could be considered a winner. Number 3, the Royal Rumble match, Royal Rumble 2015. Will time ever be kind to the worst iteration of WWE's best gimmick match? Probably not. But with the passing years and the various changes in the wrestling industry that have come along with them, the crimes committed against basic pro wrestling promotion in 2015's Royal Rumble don't seem quite as cruel, cynical, and outwardly antagonistic. It's still the work of the worst of Vince McMahon, of course, namely Big Show and Kane destroying your faves, the manky old boss forcing his pet project on everybody, and a sentimental favourite drowning in an organisation that had forgotten the meaning of the word. It was genuinely headache-inducing at the time. Number 2, Triple H vs Randy Orton, WrestleMania 25. Lots of painfully boring WWE main events can be put down to arrogance. Arrogance of the company for trying to get away with booking something so turgid. Arrogance of those with final say in the creative direction for thinking what they've just signed off on was good enough for the biggest contest on the show. And arrogance of the wrestlers for suggesting that something go the distance even if they don't really have the toolbox to make it so. WWE had beaten generations of fans over their heads with the supposed brilliance of both men, despite the game's one great year being a decade earlier, and Orton still being over a decade away. Yet here they were in that not-so-sweet spot, grabbing holds on the biggest stage of the year, as a blood feud payoff that also had to follow one of the company's greatest matches ever. Not the kind of spot you want to be in. Number 1, Keith Lee vs Karrion Kross, NXT TakeOver 30. By the time TakeOver 30 came around in the summer of 2020, Keith Lee was a dead cert for a main roster call-up, and Karrion Kross was even more of a nailed-on bet to become NXT champion at the first attempt. But a result that was never really in doubt wasn't why this potential clash of the titans was so painful. Nor, oddly, was a shoulder injury Kross suffered during the contest. It was that all of the above took place over 21 drab and draining minutes. What this wasn't was an exhilarating Keith Lee match filled with jaw-dropping feats of athleticism from the champion, nor a destructive display from the newcomer, akin to his domination of Tommaso Ciampa from the brand's last special. Rest holds and glacial exchanges removed the feeling of danger from a match that already lacked the feeling of suspense. But simply, it all went downhill from here, didn't it? Did you enjoy this WWE matches that were painful to watch video? Then check out this 10 most dangerous WWE matches ever list too. It's wonderful. Bye bye.